Welcome to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, where we talk all things good food, good business, and good cars. And now, here is your host, Arnold Gasita, founder and CEO of Petra Automotive Products. Let's roll.
So we got a great show for you today. Everybody that knows Veronica and me knows how much we love the theater. A couple years ago, I believe I had the pleasure of meeting Dean Gladden, the managing director of the Alley Theater in Houston. And anybody in Houston, and I think outside Houston, at some point, if you travel to Houston, somebody's going to take you to the Alley Theater. And I'll probably say, especially around Christmas time, because it's like a Houston tradition to come to the Christmas Carol at the Alley Theater. So, Dean, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate you doing this. I'm excited about this because we love the theater so much. Before we get into the theater stuff, a couple of fun questions.
Okay.
Of all the places you've traveled or would like to travel, where do you want to go? Actually, give me two. Of all the places you've traveled, what's your favorite? And of all the places you haven't traveled, where do you want to go?
Wow, that's really a tough question. And there are just so many fabulous places that, we've been to Italy several times, and there's just something special about Italy and all the different regions and its own personality and the food and the wine. It's just really fabulous. So that's one of the places that we love.
You know, I think 9 out of 10, and then my stats can be wrong here, 9 out of 10 people that we interview, it's Italy.
Isn't that funny?
It is Italy, including us.
Yeah.
Like, I think, to me, one of my favorite places is Venice.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something about Italy, the people, the culture, the food, the wine, everything you said.
Yeah.
It's just a great place to go and hang out.
It is. It's got everything. It's got everything. The history, and it's just, yeah.
All right. What about a place you haven't gone to?
Well, the place that I haven't gone to that we're going to this next year is to Africa. And we're going to be in South Africa and Zimbabwe and Kenya. Yeah.
Wow. How long are you going to be over there?
So we're going to be over there in the country for about 14 days.
You have to get any special shots?
We do have to have special shots and stuff. And I think we're going to overload on the shots, whatever they say.
Give us
Marshall,
one.
you don't have
give us
to,
two.
but I'm going to say, yeah, okay, I'll take it. Yeah. I don't want to have any.
So you're going to do the optional and non-optional.
The non-optional. I'm going to do them all. But because we're going to go and not only do the safari stuff, but go to the wine country in South Africa and really.
Listen, I've had a couple of friends who've gone over there and done the safari stuff. You know, a lot of that safari stuff obviously now is pictures, but they do the safari stuff. They do the wine. They have loved it. I asked you about the shots because that's they're like, you got to get these shots to go. But once you get through that and you get there, they have loved Africa.
Yeah.
I think it's like this, known but almost unknown because it's not on the top of people's list of where are you going on vacation. Well, I'm going to go to Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it really is. When people go, they come back and they talk about how magical it was.
Yeah, everybody that I've talked to the same way. They say until you go, you just can't believe, because you can go to the zoo and see all these animals, but it's different when you're in the wild.
That's
and
right.
You're just and there's just nothing out there, and it's just the animals own the ground and the stars at night. They say it's just brilliant.
They say that.
And
I agreed with you.
It's just a whole.
Even the ocean said they say it's beautiful. We had a friend that stayed in some safari place. And so literally at night, he's got elephants roaming by.
Yeah.
Just different animals at night that he would wake up and just roaming.
Yeah.
And so he loved it. It's a great place. You're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Oh, my favorite food. Oh, jeez. I will tell you that I've got an Irish background, so I would have to say that the potato is my favorite food.
Okay. Potato in anything.
You could do anything with the potato. And I still remember when my father and my mother were on we're doing some game thing with a bunch of couples, and where one couple would have to write what the other would guess and type of thing. And they asked my dad what his favorite food was, and my mother had written down potato, and my dad said potato, and everybody was shocked. So I have to carry on that tradition.
Most people will say steak and potatoes. I think you're the only one that goes,
yeah, I know.
Don't worry about the steak. We'll just go for the potatoes. All right, here's another one. And you may have this. So I tell people, what is your favorite or dream car? In other words, your dream car, you may already have it. It's in your garage, or you don't have it, but it's your dream car, the car that we've always dreamed as kids we would have. What is that? What is Dean's dream car in Dean's garage?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to start off by telling you I'm not a real car person. So I've always been kind of a practical car owner all my life.
Four wheels and an engine.
Yeah, and I play drums. So it used to be I could only get a car that I could get my drum set in, and you can't get your drum set in every car. So for years that has always been a prerequisite, which meant I always have to have a 4-door car, and the bass drum is always the hardest to get in. So it has to be able to get the bass drum in. So my current car that I have that I love is an Audi A7. So that's a fun car to drive.
All right. Good. So you play the drums?
Yeah. So I was a percussion major in college.
Do you play the drums now? Like is there a Dean
I
band
well,
that practices in Dean's garage?
No, I don't
that
have.
Gets gigs at night.
Unfortunately, I don't have enough time because of the theater, because we're going day and night. But I still have a couple of reunion bands that I get together with from college. So I had a Dixieland band, and we get together every 5 years. So we had 2 years ago we had our 45th reunion. And I went up to Cleveland, and we threw a party and had about 70 friends come and hear the band. And then I had a black tie band. We used to play the social circuit in Cincinnati because I'm obviously from Ohio, and that band has had a couple of reunions because a lot of doctors are in that band. They've all now retired. I'm like the last guy standing that's still working.
Hang in there, Dean. Hang in there, Dean. So this whole thing is about the Dean story.
Oh, my. Okay.
The Dean story. So, Dean, where were you born?
So I was born in Mount Gilead, Ohio.
And you grew up there?
Yeah. It was a little town, about 3,000 people. It's just 45 miles north of Columbus. And it had its claim to fame was back in the 60s. It had an oil boom. And it was on the cover of Look magazine. And everybody had an oil well in their backyard. There was no zoning, so everybody just drilled oil wells.
At what point did you go, I like arts?
Oh, well, that started really young. When I was in third grade, my mother wanted to buy a piano. And she said to me, if I bought a piano, would you learn to play it? And I said, well, I want to play the drums. And she said, well, you can play the drums if you'll learn to play the piano. I said, okay, that's the deal. So I took piano lessons from third grade until 12th grade. And I started drums in fifth grade and then played and ended up being a music major in college.
I feel like we should have brought a piano and drums on the set. Because if you had lessons from third grade to 12th, you've got to play the piano pretty good.
I played much better back then than I can play today.
Do you play at all every once in a while?
I play with the grandkids, so I do kids songs now.
Chopsticks.
Yeah, I was good back in the day, and it's great when you're a music major and you already play piano because I don't have to. I proficiency out of all the keyboard classes, and it helps because you have to play marimba. And so you already know how to read music, and mallets were actually my favorite. So I used to play marimba and vibes.
So you don't get together like for Christmas and want to show off to your grandkids and just like show them what granddad can do?
Well, what we do is we get out the percussion instruments, and I've got whether it's a triangle or tambourine or maracas or So all the instruments come out, all the kids play the instruments, and I play the piano, and we sing, and yes.
That's great. That's great. That's great. I love it. I love it. All right, so 3rd to 12th, you get introduced to the arts, you get into piano, and you're able to do the drums. learn music, etc. You're going to go to college. What did you study?
One thing that my parents instilled in us was a work ethic. So I had either a paper route or a job, and I worked at a dairy drive-in from my freshman year on. And when you work at a dairy drive-in, you work till like 11 o'clock at night. So I had school nights.
What's a dairy drive-in? I go by
a dairy drive-in is before McDonald's. It's the place where you go for milkshakes and hamburgers and those types of places. When I went to college, I'd really kind of had it with the small town life. And so I swore when I left there that I would never come back other than to visit my parents, but I wouldn't come back for summer jobs or anything else.
Right.
So I went to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And I always explain to people, Miami University was founded when Florida was still owned by Spain. So if people wonder about the Miami in Florida, it's an after run. The Miami Indians were only in Ohio. And then I founded that band, and we played at Kings Island Amusement Park every summer.
And so when you went to Miami, when you're a freshman going into your first year of college, did you pick music or you picked something else?
I picked music. I wanted to be a business major, but my grades weren't good enough to get into the business school.
So I'm going to play instrument. All right. Well, that's fair enough. And you said you opened a band?
I had all these charts, Dixieland charts, that I played in when I was in high school. And I thought this might be a good way for a summer job where you don't really have to work. So I picked the best trumpet, trombone, and clarinet player in our freshman class. And I said to these guys, you want to start a band? And of course they said yes. And so we added a tuba and a piano, and then we auditioned to play at Kings Island, and we got the gig. And so we would play in the spring when they're open on weekends, then all summer, and then in the fall when they're open on weekends. So it was a great job. We made a lot of money.
And you did this in your freshman year?
I started the band my freshman year.
Wow! So you got a gig. You were making some
all the way.
Quick.
All the way through. Yeah, we made very good money. The live shows always made the most money.
Is this one of the bands that get together once in a while?
So that's that had our 45th reunion. Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we always play, usually at on the 5-year cycle at Miami University alumni weekend.
All right, so you go off to, you were saying something about small town, and you said, I'm going to leave here, never come back in any way, shape, or form, except to visit my parents. Do you feel that most people that grow up in a small town say that, like, do you have any friends that still stayed there, or most?
Oh, yeah, I go back for reunions, and the majority of kids still stay there.
Really?
Yeah.
Before I opened Petra, I had the opportunity to buy a company in Montana, little town in Montana. And my wife and I went up there to check the town out.
Yes.
Beautiful. Place was beautiful. Business was a great business, well positioned. And we were very close to doing it. But everywhere we went, a restaurant, hotel, every young person we met would say this: as soon as I'm 18,
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. And my wife looked at me and says, we're not moving to a place where our kids at 18 go, I'm out of here.
My entire career before I moved down here was in Ohio. My first job was in Lima, Ohio. My second job was in Toledo, and my third job was in Cleveland. And I also taught at the University of Akron, so I really know Ohio. And the Rust Belt is the real thing. And when I was in Cleveland, and I started in Cleveland in '82, and I left in 2006. And when I went there in '82, it was the third largest Fortune 500 headquarters city in the country. And when I left, it wasn't even in the top 50.
Okay, so you're in college, you graduate, music major. What's next?
Well, my degree was in education, and my junior year, I decided that I really enjoyed kind of the business side of the arts. And I heard someone speak about arts management. and I'd never heard of arts management, and so we're talking the early 70s now, and so I looked into it, and there were about a dozen colleges in the country that offered arts management degrees, graduate degrees. The best laid plans of mice and men do often go astray.
Work out well.
So it turns out when I went there, my advisor, who said to me, well, listen, I'll get you your internship with the Philadelphia Orchestra. I played in the Philadelphia Orchestra for 20 years, and so I'd be happy to get you in. Well, what he didn't tell me was when he left the Philadelphia Orchestra, he wrote a book called Bach, Beethoven, and Bureaucracy, a case study on the Philadelphia Orchestra. So the last person they were going to take...
So he was very well loved.
Yeah, exactly. The last person they were going to take was one of his students. And I'm like, really? So
you didn't get a chance to not even audition?
No, I didn't. I applied, but they rejected me. It's a long story, but I ended up with my last choice, which was an internship with the Erie Philharmonic in Erie, Pennsylvania. But when I finished, I couldn't get a job with an orchestra. It's typical, you don't have any experience, and so I was rejected left and right. So I ended up applying for a job to run an arts council in Lima, Ohio, which is a town of about 50,000 people on the west side of Ohio between Dayton and Toledo. And I got the job, and so I started up that September.
So was that your kind of beginning to the management of?
That was it. I was the executive director of the Lima Area Arts Council, and they were a very progressive arts council that had a huge National Endowment in-school program where arts featuring arts and dance in the schools. And that was where I really learned the importance of arts education in the schools, and that programs that we use today here. And then we had our own amphitheater, so I programmed for the amphitheater. We had a small theater, programmed for the theater. And so it turned out to be a big arts festival I did in the summer. A great experience for me. And I was there.
How long did you do that? Yeah.
3 years. And then I was hired away to run the Arts Commission in Toledo. And so I did the same thing there, only on a much bigger scale, and ran, at the time it was Ohio's largest arts festival. And I did that for 2 years. And then I got a call to get in the theater business. I get a phone call from the managing director of the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival. And the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival is located in Cleveland, and they were doing a play called Nicholas Nickleby. And it was the first $100 ticket on Broadway. Now we're talking in the late 70s, about 79 it was on Broadway. Royal Shakespeare Company came over and shocked everybody with this 8-hour play. And it was a phenomenon. You had to go 2 nights, 4 hours each night, or you could go on Saturday and Sunday and see the whole thing all day. And so Great Lakes was the first American company to produce it outside of Broadway. And this theater company, one of its claims to fame was Tom Hanks his internship was at the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival.
No kidding.
And he went on, and he came back several times to do fundraisers for the theater. But it was a really great theater company, and so I joined it.
Wow.
Yeah. The head of the program, the dean of the school says to me, we just did this national search for the head of the arts management program, and we didn't find anybody we liked. Do you think you could help us out by taking over the program? And so I worked 2 full-time jobs. And I would
hardly sleep.
I had to do 2 3-hour lectures every week, which meant every weekend I would lock myself in my office at home, and to prepare for a 3-hour lecture, you have to prepare about 8 hours worth of material and go through and stuff. And I would do that on Saturday and Sunday, and we just had a newborn. And I was like, I never saw our first child for the first year because I was working the whole time. And then I get an offer, a job as associate managing director of the Cleveland Playhouse, which is the larger theater in Cleveland. and they were doing a capital campaign, and I thought, that is the most important thing for me. I've got to be successful at, and so I told them in Akron, I found teachers to teach, and I said I've got to take this other job, and I told obviously the Great Lakes Theater Festival I have to take this other job, and so then I moved on to the Cleveland Playhouse.
Today, somebody came up and said, okay, we're the managing director of the Alley Theater. We also want you to be a professor at University of Houston. What would you say?
No way. Well, first of all, being managing director is a full-time. It's 24/7. You're on all the time. So there's no way.
I say that because when we were young,
yeah, I know.
And you have a baby at home.
I'm more than happy to overcommit to things, but I couldn't overcommit to that.
It's true. Maybe it's just a guy thing and ambitious and try to still get things done and hard to say no. But there's a saying in our office that they look at me and they go, just say no. No, what is it? Say no to drugs and say no to commitments and something like that. But anyway, okay, so you're there. What's the next job?
So I started off as the associate managing director, the number 2 person at the Cleveland Playhouse. Cleveland Playhouse is the oldest resident theater in the country. It was founded in 1915, and it's like the Alley Theater, only a little smaller. The operating budget is a little smaller. I was managing director there for 19 years.
And from there?
And then I came here. Then I got a phone call, would you come down to Houston? And I really didn't want to move because I was really happy in Cleveland. And then they called me when we became empty nesters. It just happened to be the right time. And I said to my wife, I got this call to go down to Houston. She'd never been to Texas. And I think it's time for a new adventure. And she said, well, you go right ahead and have that new adventure. I hope you enjoy visiting me in Cleveland.
That's great. You go right along.
Yeah. So I came down here, and they flew her down. And the first thing she said when she looked out the window of the airplane was, I can't believe how green it is.
Everybody says that.
I know. And then she loved it. She loved Houston, and so happily came down. And we've been down here this is my 18th year.
Man, and you've done a phenomenal job. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I do want to make a comment on that people get on the plane and see that it's green.
Yeah.
I think most people that have never been to Houston, for whatever, maybe it's movies, I don't know, have this idea that we look like an old Western town, dirt and horses and cowboys everywhere. Right?
I think they do.
And then they get here and they're like, wait a minute, this is not what I thought Houston was going to be.
I know. It's all glass and steel.
It's glass and steel. It's modern, phenomenal food, arts, and theater.
It's subtropic. Oh, who knew subtropic? Really? You can grow oranges here and grapefruits and bananas?
Yeah, they are really surprised. I mean, I get it over and over throughout the years. And I've been in Houston all my life, with the exception of 4. People will come in, clients will come in, and they're like, oh, I didn't think Houston was like this.
Yeah.
And they're in their mind, they're just thinking of that Western movie. In the 18 years, pick 1 or 2 things that Arnold, these things were pivotal or my favorite. What are the 2 things that you could just say, I love these 2 things that happened in my 18-year career here so far?
Well, I had the one really big thing was when I was brought down here, I was brought down to also do a capital campaign to renovate the theater. And the theater hadn't been renovated since 1968 when it was built. And so it really needed to be completely redone. And so we raised $56.5 million and then gutted the Hubbard Theater, literally jackhammered out the entire bowl all the way down to the sub-basement, and then rebuilt it and put a fly loft in and made it a state-of-the-art theater. And we did it during hurricane season, and we did it in 14 months. And to do that much construction on time, on budget, and finish it in 14 months was a major accomplishment. Then what happened to me 1 year later, Hurricane Harvey came through and flooded the theater. So we had 5 million gallons of water. This theater that we're in right now had water up to the last row. So this theater, the water was about 10 feet high. Downstairs, the water was 15 feet high. We lost 84,000 props in the flood. My goal was to get up and running. This was August 27th was when Harvey hit. And my goal was by Thanksgiving, we would be up and doing Christmas Carol. Because we really felt, the city was all suffering from the flood. Everybody was suffering. And we thought if we could get that show up and kind of show the resilience of the theater and the resilience of Houston.
And plus it is, would you agree it's a Christmas tradition?
It is a Christmas tradition, yeah.
For sure.
And we didn't want to deprive people of that tradition. So we literally, it was about $22 million worth of damage. And we were up and running by Thanksgiving and did Christmas Carol. And that was an unbelievable feat.
Dean, you and your staff and the entire team, you guys have done great in making the Alley Theater so special. Bigger, better. Yeah. The remodeling, surviving the hurricane, replacing everything you've lost, although things that are from a certain era are hard to replace. But you guys have done phenomenal. And the city needed it because the city was... But the good thing is, too, that the entire city came back strong.
Yeah.
We all helped each other, and we came back strong. And it needed a place to go and breathe and laugh and relax.
Yeah.
And the Alley Theater has always been that special place. You have, and I've had the privilege of seeing the behind the scenes. Tell everybody, you guys do your own wardrobe here.
Right.
Correct?
So
give us all those,
all the things. So we have our own costume shop, and our designers will design two-dimensionally. They'll draw a picture of what they want the costume to look like, and then the costume shop has to build from that picture, and they'll tell you what materials they want. Most of the materials come from New York because you can get them cheapest in the clothing district in New York. And so everything is couture. So all of these costumes are all custom made by our costume shop. We have our own tailor who makes all the suits and all the men's clothing, and we have a draper. The draper is the female tailor that drapes all the dresses, and then they're all constructed here. We have a wig shop. Pretty much every woman is wearing a wig in the show because their hair has to look the same every night, and so we build those wigs from scratch. So we measure the head. We have a knitting that's done, and then every wig is made with human hair. So each hair is put in and tied a knot into the form, and then we make the wigs. So
I feel like I should come for a testing.
Our guys that are bald love the wig shop because they get to wear all kinds of hair.
Made to my own size, made to my head.
It's all custom made. It's all great. We have a scene shop where it makes all the scenery. So, and they're all carpenters with great skill, and they can do incredible work. Then we have a prop shop, and the prop is anything that you can hand carry onto the stage, any of the dressing. So this chair, this table would be a prop, and a chandelier or curtains. So, and the props, they have the same thing. They have a clean prop room where they do all the upholstering. So they'll reupholster chairs. They'll build chairs from scratch and build tables from scratch because they have to look a certain way. So, and they have to be a certain dimension so they fit on the set right. So all of that is custom made. A lot of the furniture is all custom made. And so we have great skilled craftsmen. We usually will hire a composer who will bring sound to the play. So it'll be underscoring certain scenes. It'll be when we change scenes, it'll be to set up all the proper moods for the play and the sound effects. And then, of course, we have electrics, so all the lights. We will hang as many as 400 to 500 lights in a show. So it really takes a lot to light a show. And so all of that customers, we also work with video. There's a lot of video in this show. So we have a videographer on staff that creates all the video. So everything that you see at the Alley Theater is couture. It's all custom made for that production in that place and time. And so you're seeing Broadway shows literally in your own backyard, and that's the same quality. The same designers that design for us and directors that direct for us are the same ones that design and direct on Broadway.
What is in 18 years, give me a couple of your favorite shows.
Oh my gosh. So it's so hard to have favorites because what I love about each show is there are unique experiences that you will never forget. Like you can name a show and I can tell you a unique scene that just blew me away from that show. And but for people that have been in the Alley, the Alley produces shows that go to Broadway. We don't take Broadway shows and do them here. So the most famous show that people will remember was Jekyll and Hyde, which ran for 3 years on Broadway. The last show we took to Broadway was Wonderland.
So let me make sure I get this right. So you're saying the Broadway shows don't come here, the shows from here go to Broadway.
That's right.
Interesting.
So we have had a number of shows. We've had shows that won the Pulitzer Prize that started here. So the quality of what you see here, that's what I'm saying.
It's so good.
It is the same as they see in New York. And that's what makes this place so special.
Okay, so Houston, great theater city, isn't it?
Yes. Houston is a great theater city, and it's really a great arts city. It's one of the only cities, I think there are only 4 cities in the United States that have resident companies in the major art forms, in orchestra, ballet, opera, and theater. So we've got all 4 resident companies.
And I think when people come, if you're ever in Houston, Alley Theater, find whatever show they're having and come here. But when you come here, up close and personal, these phenomenal, well-written plays with the sets and the costume and everything that comes along with it, you will see incredible actors.
Yes.
Incredible actors that really suck you in
Yeah.
into the story that they're portraying.
Yeah.
So it's great. Well, Dean, thank you for being with us. This has been a blast.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I love talking about the Alley.
Keep doing what you're doing. Don't go anywhere. Is your wife happy you made this decision 18 years ago?
Absolutely thrilled. And my kids. My kids love visiting Houston. They love Houston. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, brother.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, your main source for all things good and fun, business, food, and cars. If you like this episode, make sure to rate us and subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please leave a message at the link below. Till next time, happy eating.